Hey guys, and welcome to the
Hello.
last author chat of the week. We are talking again with
Mhm.
Kimberly Gabriel of Every Stolen Breath. And guys, like if you are looking for like a thriller, YA thriller, definitely check this one out because it was so good. I mean, reading this again for the second time, I mean, this has got to be one of the first books this year that I still remember a good portion of it,
Mhm.
and you guys know that does not happen with me whatsoever unless it's something like Shadow Hunters, and even those, there's just way too much going on. But this, like, I could still give you guys like the run over of most of this, which is, it feels weird. It feels weird because I was reading and I was like, I actually remember parts of this and the ending and everything where it's not like, I'm reading something completely new like usual. That
Mhm.
was nice. How
Oh,
about weird? But this is really good.
thank you
I
so
love this
much.
book.
You are such an avid reader, so I know how much of a compliment that is, especially coming from you. I so appreciate that.
Right. Yeah, I was telling Lori, who wrote The Black Witch, that I'm helping her and talking with her constantly about her series, that I'm like, this is going to be one of the very few series where I'm just going to end up knowing everybody. I'm going to
Mhm.
know everything that's going on. I'm
Mhm.
going to be able to answer any and all questions that anybody has for
Mhm.
this because I'm talking about it so much with her. It's like,
Mhm.
that's weird. I'm not
Mhm.
used to that. Not
Mhm.
used to that at all.
Mhm.
So weird. So we have some people on here, of course, watching. If you guys are watching
Hello.
this, you can toss your questions into the live chat. If for some reason YouTube is being mean and it will not let you add them there, you can tweet them out to me or DM me on Twitter. Just make sure you um, tag me. I will get my brain. I think I've sucked in too many cleaning supplies today. Oh goodness, it's getting to my brain. So definitely ask questions if you have them. The first one that we always like to do, of course, is tell us a little bit about yourself and your title, because this is your debut, or no, it is not.
Yeah, no, it is.
It
Uh,
is.
mhm.
Okay,
So this one came
that's
out in
right.
November of 2019. I'm Kimberly Gabriel, of course, and I'm actually a teacher. I've been teaching in middle school for about 20 years. Jessica and I were just talking about that before we went live. And then I'm a debut writer too. So this was my first title, Every Stolen Breath. It's a YA thriller that's based in Chicago about a girl named Lia Finch, whose father is murdered by a flash mob, which is a group of teens that kind of blend into a crowd, and given a signal, they converge on one person to beat and murder. This is something that has become an epidemic in Chicago in my book. And Leah's father, when he's murdered this way, the city wants to dismiss it as gang violence. But Leah is bound and determined to prove that this attack was premeditated and orchestrated by somebody pretty high up in the city that wanted to keep her dad quiet for some very specific reasons. So she enlists the help of an unethical reporter and a teen hacker and a mysterious boy who may or may not have had something to do with her dad's death to figure out who might be behind these flash mob attacks. But the closer she gets to uncovering who that might be, the more likely she is to become their next victim. So it was something that I based around some real live events that happened in Chicago. There were flash mob attacks in 2011, where luckily nobody was murdered as a result of them. They were just muggings that happened in proclaimed safe neighborhoods. But when these attacks occurred in the city, they terrified me. The concept behind them was so alarming to me that I was really scared of this particular type of violence. And it's not like the city of Chicago doesn't have other types of violence or other bad things that happen. But for whatever reason, I was really scared by these stories. And so a couple of years later, I decided to take that concept and kind of make it a backdrop for my book.
Which you did amazingly on. I
Thank you.
mean, even rereading this, like, I wouldn't have known that this was a debut novel,
Thank you. Thank you so
whatsoever.
much.
It was so good.
Thank you. That's the best compliment.
And her dad, he was, I don't remember, he was what, a cop, or
He was the district attorney for Chicago.
Okay, that's right. He was a lawyer. I
Yeah.
was like, I knew he was something.
Yeah. And
he was something in there.
And he was kind of trying to take down these attacks as well. He also did not believe that it was gang violence in the city, and so he had started a case against somebody who was involved in these flash mob attacks, and he was murdered before that case ever went to trial.
Wow. This book definitely packs a punch, that is for sure. And make sure you guys carve out some time for it, because once you start it, you will not want to put it down. Like, seriously, it is really good. It does have some real, like, a light romance in it. It doesn't get too heavy with that, which I know a lot of readers will enjoy. I know there's one person on Facebook that anytime I post a picture that, hey, I just finished some books, is there romance in any of these? I'm like, yes, no, light. Because it seems to be like something that authors constantly toss into their titles, regardless of what is going on. There's always a romance, and I like that. Although you did add a romance, it's not the forefront of the story. This is all based on her wanting to find out who killed her father, bringing them to justice, and dealing with the swarm, and not dying, because nobody wants that.
Right. It's a bit ironic too that the romance wasn't a heavier part, because that's my favorite part of YA novels. Like, I always get very wrapped up in the romance, but as I was writing this story, and you kind of nailed it, this was really Lia's drive to take down the person who was orchestrating these attacks, and so the romance was really secondary to her main goals in this book, that she became really obsessed with throughout the book. And so I was kind of deliberate in making the romance lighter than my next one.
I mean, it works though, because it's still there. The aspects of it are still there. You know that she has feelings for this guy, and then you're not really sure if he's like, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? But it doesn't take over the story, which is really nice. Which I think I remember talking about that the first time that we talked. Kimberly was on when we were still on Instagram, and there was no sound. There was no audio when I uploaded it to YouTube. So I was like, you know what? Hey, you want to come back on? Because this book was awesome, and everybody needs to know about it. So.
Thank you. We had some technical problems too. I think I lost some connectivity there for a little bit. We were frozen a couple times, so hopefully we have a perfect feed tonight.
That was me yesterday. It was pouring. There's no storms going on right now.
That's good. It's going to rain here soon.
It's always been getting is rain, and then people like up north, they're like, "Oh, we have snow," and I'm like, "What? What? It's like June."
I know. I'm glad I am not having snow.
Right. I've been to Chicago. I was in Chicago a few years ago for BEA and BookCon.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was cool. I could, wear a nice long sleeve shirt and not want to die, know. Can't do those things in Florida.
No. Our winters are brutal though. And they last for a very long time. Yes. So if you come in the summer, that is the perfect time to come to Chicago. It's beautiful. It's lovely.
I think that was in May. Yeah, that was in May. Sometime in May.
Yeah.
A few years ago. It was nice out.
Yeah.
It was nice out.
It's a good
I will take that weather.
Yeah.
I will steal that weather and bring it home.
Well, during the winter, I would kind of take your weather.
Right. You can have it. I'll take some snow for 1 year. That's fine. I miss snow. I haven't seen snow since like 2009. I miss snow.
Yeah. I can hear my kids. I told you that.
I was like, I hear kids, and it sounds like is that a dog barking?
There was a dog barking.
Kids? Oh, okay.
At least laughter in the background, so that's a good sign. But something very funny just happened. Quiet. I know. Right.
If you get quiet, then you have to like. So do your kids do the mom thing where like they could be like by like 2 or 3 other adults, but they have to come and ask mom?
Oh, totally. Yes. To the point where, I did a lot of Zooms as a teacher as well. And some of my kids, my daughter especially, who's 4, she would come right in and she would have to ask me a question, even if I was in the middle of doing something. We're very attached.
Fun.
I know, right?
Constantly and it's always the youngest one. The older one she's like, she's good. It's always the youngest one, you know, like she knows I'm doing a show. She'll come in here and to ask me a question, or like she'll show something at me, like she'll open the door and like,
right.
I'm like, really, dad's out there, Nana's out there. You can't go ask one of the other two adults. It's crazy.
Right. It's like the second you're unavailable, that's when they have to have your attention.
Oh yeah. So how hard has it been to? Because I'm guessing you're working on a new book, right?
Yeah. I'm getting close to finishing my draft.
Writing, 3 kids, everybody's home, plus your schooling is at home. How has all that worked out for you?
It was crazy. And I say that because, you know, I told you we ended the school year so abruptly and we had to make a shift so quickly into remote learning. And so that in itself was just nuts. You know, it was hard to see kids struggle. It was hard to see my own kids struggle with homeschooling. And so just the teaching part of my life, kind of, I can hear my kids like screaming in the background again, but again, it's all good things. I hear a lot of laughing. But the teaching part of my life became, you know, the dominant part. I mean, that was clearly my focus during everything that was going on. And that includes me teaching my own kids during that time as well. And so writing became kind of my, you know, had to be pushed aside as not my priority. However, it was, you know, I wake up very early in the mornings to write. I wake up at about between 5 and 5:30 and I write for 2 hours every morning. And that became the thing that kind of grounded me throughout everything. It became like my constant, and it became a great release for me. And so, you know, a lot of people talk about how the second book is really, really difficult because you go in your first book, you don't really know what you're doing. And so you get to do whatever you want. And, you know, your second book, you have all of these voices in your head telling you, you know, what you should do better or what you need to do, you know, on the first draft or whatever it is. And while I had all of that, it just, I was able to let go of a lot of that and have it just be a cathartic experience. So it was very interesting as I was writing my second one because I have dark themes when I write. You know, I like thrillers. I'm very drawn to tension and you know, some scary and bad things happening. But with COVID going on, I play up the romance a lot more in this book. And I think part of that was because I needed something very light and hopeful, even though I think Every Stolen Breath definitely has a hopeful thread through it and a hopeful end. This book is a little lighter because of it. So it was interesting.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about the new book?
I can tell you that it is a thriller again. This one has a little bit more of a paranormal twist to it.
I think I remember you talking about this before.
And so I know, I'm excited about that. It was kind of fun. I have a little bit of a world building element that I was able to infuse in this one because it's, you know, parts of the book have more of a magical element to it. So yeah, I'm excited.
So is it like paranormal, like ghosts, or paranormal, like witches?
Paranormal ghosts, not so much witches or creatures. I'm in the middle of reading Holly Black's book right now. I'm listening to it, Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. I'm reading The Wicked King, and she does such a phenomenal job creating creatures, but I just don't think I could do that. You know, I love reading about it, but I'm a little bit more realistically based in the way that I think, in the way that I create, in the way that I write. And so, like I said, it's just kind of a thread or a part of it, but I'm excited.
Well, for anybody who wants to write about creatures and they don't want to write about the same creatures that everybody else has written about, there's a fabulous book out there that will be in the New Age section, and I'm pretty sure you can still get it off of Amazon, and it's like 10,000 magical beings, and it just is a gigantic dictionary of just magical beings from all over the world. I love
Very
it.
Cool.
I need to dig it out. It's like in one of my totes around here. I'm not exactly sure which one, but that the book is like, it's massive. So yeah, I definitely recommend that to authors everywhere, that if you want to write a book and you don't want to use the same, you know, vampires, witches, and everything else that everybody else has done, definitely check that book out, because you will find something that nobody has written about in it, like guaranteed.
I think that would just be a fascinating book to like flip through too.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
Because it'll give you like what the creature's called, where it originated from, and then like a little, some of them are like a paragraph basically about like what that creature is. And I think it gives you attributes of it as well, like what it looks like. I have to look at it. I haven't looked at it for like forever.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So you said you're almost done with that book?
Yes, I'm almost done with my first draft. And it came out pretty quickly, or at least for me. It'll be about 4 months of just drafting, and then I'll revise it and send it off to
So are you contracted for this title, or
no? Mm-mm.
Oh, you are not. So is it like still like up in the air on if it's going to be published, or?
Sure. Yeah. And there's always that. So yeah, I'll be sending it to my agent. Thanks. Yeah. And see what she does with it.
Everybody's doing like paranormal stuff. I love it. Love it. Love it.
This was actually borrowed from my first idea for my book. So like Every Stolen Breath was the second book that I actually wrote and tried to query. And the first book that I wrote, like I said, it has a lot of borrowed elements from it. And it was terrible. I mean, the first book that I wrote, I think I had like 110,000 words in there, and I had like 8 main characters, and I thought I was like defying conventions, and it was going to be this great thing that was brand new. And it was terrible. But when I queried it, it got just a little bit of attention, and it got enough attention and enough people saying, you're a good writer. You didn't get my attention with this book, but query me again if you have a second one. For me to try again. And that's when I wrote Every Stolen Breath. And so now I've kind of gone back and stolen some of those ideas because I liked the basis for the book that I initially had. I just have to do it a little bit better. I have to execute it better.
That works, take your past stuff, redo it, take what works, leave what doesn't, and make something new out of it,
Yeah.
What works. So since you really love thrillers, when you love writing thrillers, what are some thrillers that you recommend?
Oh, well, I just finished One of Us Is Next by Karen McManus. That was very good. I love Karen McManus. I really want to pick up next Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany Jackson. I love that one. I love Last Seen Leaving by Caleb Roig. I was just enthralled by that book. He's very good at creating characters, really strong characters, and keeping the pages turning. I loved The Window by Amelia Brunskill. And then Kit Frick has a new one coming out. She's been producing a really great thriller every single year, and it is Zoe Spanos. I Killed Zoe Spanos. I should know this title. I've been like seeing the cover of this book everywhere right now. But I'm excited to get my hands on that. I think that one comes out in a couple weeks.
Ooh. And you're liking the Holly Black book, right? I mean, you're on like the second book, so I'm guessing yes.
Yes. I
love that series.
I wasn't as captivated with The Cruel Prince as I thought I would be. And then in the beginning, but then about, I don't know, however many pages into it or however many chapters in, I got to a point where I couldn't put it down. That's the one I'm listening to right now. And then I'm reading, Tomi Adeyemi's second book, which is Virtue and Vengeance, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, I think.
Oh, I haven't read that one yet. I've read the first one. It was really good. That was really, really good. The Cruel Prince, I actually got that from Fury Loot, and I wasn't too sure about that one because I hadn't really liked anything else that Holly Black had done. So I was like, And I ended up getting it, and I started reading it because we ended up using it for book club, and I was like, that's fucking awesome.
And The Wicked King is fantastic. Like I have not been able to stop listening to that one.
Wait till you get to the third one.
I was gonna say, do I need to read the third one? Like I have so many books on my list right now. Shoot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good. Because I mean, if I remember correctly, the second book completely ends on a cliffhanger.
Darn. I was really hoping I would like feel satisfied. I could put the series away. I could like work on some books for curriculum. Darn it. Okay.
Nope. Well, you got one more book to go.
I listen to those books while I'm walking and like exercising. So really it's just encouraging me to exercise and be healthy. So All right. Third one after this.
So let's see. We have a writing question.
Okay.
They want to know, how do you go about to get an agent, and what qualifications or what qualities did you look most in finding one?
Oh, those are really good questions. I started to query the second book, Every Stolen Breath, and I got a little bit of attention from it, but nobody picked it up. And then I entered Pitch Wars. I applied to be in Pitch Wars, which is a writing contest that usually opens up around August of every single year, where you can apply to have a writer or an industry professional pick you up and mentor you for several months. And I was very fortunate to be picked up by Dawn Hughes to mentor me. And so she worked very closely with me on my manuscript for 2 or 3 months. And then at the end of that time, there's a big showcase where a bunch of agents come in and offer to read your manuscript or not. And that I didn't get my agent directly out of Pitch Wars. It was several months later. And so I went through the query process after that. And then by the time Jenny Herrera, who's my agent, made an offer, I had a couple different offers. And so I felt very fortunate that I was able to talk to more than one agent. And the thing that I really loved about Jenny was that we hopped on the phone and we talked for like 2.5 hours, and it was a very easy conversation. So I liked that. But I also liked that she believed in my career. So it wasn't just, an interest in a manuscript. That was something that was important to me. How I went about selecting the agents to query, I would go by reputation. I went by, who my friends were interested in or had really good things to say about. That's how I came across Jenny. And then from there, I looked for that connection. And I feel very fortunate that we did click so well.
So, can anybody be an agent, or do they specifically work with publishers, like hand in hand, or are they kind of like outside of the one specific publisher?
Yeah, so my agent works at an agency, David Black, in New York. So the agents usually, work at an agency, and then they represent the author and will negotiate with the publisher on your behalf.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Got a lot of writing questions. What has been the hardest part about writing?
Making the time to do so.
Especially now.
Yeah, that's it. You have good days and you have bad days with writing, and you have days when the ideas keep coming and they don't shut up. And then you have the days when you can't think of anything. And so then you turn to just making lists about your characters and getting to know your characters really well. But I would say the hardest part for me is just making the time to do so, or finding the time to do so. And drafting. I'm not a big fan of drafting. I love revising. I love going back and polishing. So for me, I'm about to get to the fun part of writing.
I totally agree with Jessica about the romance in Every Stolen Breath, but it still felt well-rounded. How did you write all of the romance without being too gushy?
Thanks. Well, maybe part of it was a little bit of a censor in me, knowing that I'm a teacher and I would have students reading this. And so one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to appeal to all of the students in my classroom. That was something that was really important to me. I very much wrote Every Stolen Breath as a book that I could give to students who wanted a page-turning book and could just be engrossed in it. And so I did know that if I made the romance too gushy, which I happen to love in my YA books, like I love Wicked King for the gushy romance in there. But I also knew that I would lose some of my readers because, some kids love that and some kids don't. And so I kept it as something that added tension to the book and added an element of the book and added something that I find very necessary in my YA, but I tried not to overdo it. And I kept it very centered in Lia and her obsessive mission to take down the flash mob. Thank you for that question. That's a good question.
I loved it. It was so good.
Thanks.
Let's see here. I think this is one I actually asked you about too. Do you think that you would ever do a small prequel novella about? Oh, she doesn't remember what his name is. Is it Adam? The
Oh,
guy's name?
yeah.
About Adam and how like his whole backstory.
Quite possibly. So Adam was her best friend in Teen Hacker, and he was my favorite character in the book. I would probably not do a novella about Ryan, who was the love interest, but
yeah, that's who I was thinking about was
okay.
Ryan.
I wasn't sure which one it would be. Even though Ryan was fascinating to me, he's a very intense guy, and so I think it'd be hard to carry a story. Adam, who was my teen hacker, he was just witty and sarcastic, and he would be fun just to write more about. But probably not Ryan. I don't know. I could be talked into anything though.
I think it would be really interesting just to see like how he ended up being, sucked into the swarm and everything else. That would be pretty interesting. Now, Adam, on the other hand, Adam, my oldest would call him a cinnamon roll. He's adorable.
He says what's on his mind, and so that makes him fun to write. Any character that like says all the things that most of us would never say because we have a filter, he lets it all out. So I like this.
He's adorable. I remember him. He's just adorable.
Thanks.
What do you hope that readers will take away from Every Stolen Breath?
Oh, good question. To me, this story is very much about strength and a girl whose own mental strength overcomes the physical strength in this book. One thing that I was very deliberate with in Lia was that I wanted her to be strong, but she's not the Katniss Everdeen strong. She's not naturally gonna take out a bow and arrow and fight off enemies. That's not Lia. Instead, she has anxiety and she has asthma and she's still struggling with some PTSD. And a lot of her strength is pushing past all of that in order to achieve her goals. And so, I would love for readers to see that, strength can come in many different ways and many different sizes and many different colors. And it doesn't always have to be somebody who is fierce and relentless. It can be a mental strength. It can be somebody who is overcoming something. That's the type of strength I see in my classroom all the time. Kids who have real problems and real struggles, and they're not going to necessarily fight monsters to show their strength. They're showing up in my classroom and they're pushing past all of that to answer my grammar questions or participate in a really fascinating discussion. And so I would hope that they could see that in Lia and maybe see that in themselves as well.
That's awesome. See. A couple questions from YouTube. Who is your favorite character in the book and why?
My favorite character in the book is Adam.
I was like, of course.
He was, and again, he has this confidence about himself where he knows who he is and he doesn't care if he's going to anger somebody with what he's going to say. He says it anyway, and his lines are funny and witty and sarcastic, and I love him for that. So he was fun to write, and I had a special place in my heart for him. So he was absolutely my favorite. Thank you for the question.
Like I call book two that's kind of like just like not exactly connected other than like just him, and have him like move away to another city or something where he's got to deal with like the end of the world via, hacker, and he's like the only one that can save everybody. They're like a Mission Impossible kid style.
He would be fun to
you could totally pull that off. Are any of the characters in your book reflective of people you know?
Yes, they always are. I feel like that there's never a character that is based off of one person. It is usually like little tiny parts of people that I steal from or I borrow from. Lia very much originated with a student in my classroom who was quiet and fierce and very strong and very smart, but she didn't open her mouth a lot. And I knew every single time I called on her, every time she put her hand up, it would be something really sharp and well articulated. And then I wouldn't hear from her for a very long time. And so she just had this edge to her that I really admired. It was a quiet kind of strength like Lia has. And so I took that element of that character and then I put a lot of other elements in it too. You know, I have a kid with asthma and he had a really hard time when he was younger. So there was that element that I put into Lia as well. Adam is very much based on several best friends that I've had throughout my life, which might be another reason that I'm so attached to him. So I think it's something that writers naturally do is when we meet somebody, there's always something that's really interesting or compelling about people, and we kind of file it away or store it in our brains, maybe to use at later times.
Works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I cannot wait for the newest book. If you need any help with the paranormal aspects, just, hit me up.
Yeah,
I'll help you.
Awesome. I might be like sending you a message saying, what was the name of that book again? With the creatures that you could send.
Well, it's like I've had people asking to help out with like magical systems and stuff because I've been taking for like over 20 years, so I know ghosts and magic and tarot and all of that stuff. So get it from someone who knows.
Yes. Okay. I might be reaching out as I get into my revision process. Thank you for that.
Like, help me. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I know that I asked a whole bunch of people that we were having the same problems with the audio and stuff, and I was so happy that you had the time to come back because, guys, like seriously, if you haven't read this, you need to. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Next week, I do not have the books with me because I completely forgot to grab them because just the way that it happened. And now I like lost my list of people coming on next week. Whoopsie. See, I went to click on it on my phone and I swiped completely out of it. That's always helpful. So you guys can catch us, of course, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday we have Rebecca Jayox at 7 p.m. for Secret Mage. The 26th at 5 p.m. we have Now and When by Sarah Bennett Wheeler. I think it's Wheeler. We'll just go with it. And then the 27th at 7 p.m. we have The Best Week That Never Happened by Dallas Woodburn. So it's going to be a very exciting week. And then the week after that we're into July. And then we've got like some amazing authors coming out. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about The Princess Will Save You. And I just realized that I put The Princess Will Sage You. Okay, whatever works, I guess. Oh my goodness. Fun time. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to connect with you, Jessica. I really appreciate it.
Catch you guys later.
All right, bye-bye.